It is a story told for millennia, etched into the very stone of our civilizations. A garden of perfect harmony, a place where humanity walked with its creator. Yet, in this paradise, a shadow lingered. We see it in ancient paintings, the subtle curve of a scale hidden amongst lush leaves. We feel it in the cold stone carvings on towering cathedrals, a creature forever frozen in the act of betrayal. This is the story of the serpent. It is a tale that has shaped our fears, defined our morality, given a face to the concept of evil. For countless generations, this one animal has borne the weight of humanity's fall from grace, a symbol of temptation whispered into the ear of the first woman. The narrative is simple. The serpent was cunning. It spoke with a silver tongue, planting a seed of doubt that would unravel paradise itself. In our modern world, the echo of this ancient story still reverberates. We see a snake, and for many the reaction is not curiosity, but instinctual fear. It is a primal response, a deep-seated dread passed down through cultural memory. We recoil from its silent, slithering form, seeing not a creature of nature, but the ghost of an ancient enemy. This fear is a powerful inheritance, one that has followed us out of the garden and into the concrete jungles of our own making. But what if the story we have been told is only part of the picture? What if our fear has blinded us to a deeper truth? The serpent offered a choice. It presented a temptation, a path to knowledge, but it did not force Eve's hand. The decision was hers, and Adam's, to make. Free will was the true test in the garden, the pivotal element of the entire drama. So why has all the blame been placed upon the messenger? Why has this creature, one among millions of creations, been singled out to become the universal icon of deceit and corruption, the scapegoat for a choice that was ultimately our own? This journey is an attempt to look beyond that inherited fear. It is a quest to peel back the layers of myth, theology, misunderstanding. We will travel from the hallowed pages of Scripture to the wild heart of the natural world, seeking to understand the serpent not as a symbol of evil, but as a living, breathing creature. We will ask difficult questions, challenging the foundations of a story we thought we knew. It is time to re-examine the tale, to look the serpent in the eye, and to ask a simple, profound question: why do we blame the snake? Let's begin. The question of the serpent leads us to a much larger, more unsettling mystery. If we accept the premise that a single, all-powerful creator brought forth the universe, then every living thing is a product of that divine will. From the smallest insect to the largest whale, each creature was designed with purpose, a thread in the grand tapestry of existence. This belief is the cornerstone of many faiths, a source of comfort and wonder. It paints a picture of a world born from love and intention. And yet, within this beautiful framework, the serpent remains a stark and troubling contradiction, a puzzle that seems to defy the very nature of a benevolent God. If God created everything, why would he create something inherently evil? Did the Creator deliberately fashion an instrument of temptation, a being designed only to lead his most beloved creations astray? It seems to contradict the very idea of a loving, protective parent. Would a truly benevolent father send a predator into his children's nursery? Or is it possible that our interpretation is flawed? Perhaps we have projected our own capacity for darkness onto one of his creatures, turning a simple animal into a vessel for a concept we struggle to comprehend. The story asks us to believe that the devil, a fallen angel, inhabited the serpent to carry out his deceitful work. But this, too, raises profound theological questions about the nature of divine power and responsibility. If the Garden of Eden was a sanctuary, how could such an entity breach its walls? Why would an all-knowing God allow this test to occur, knowing it would lead to failure and suffering? The logic leads us into a labyrinth of doubt, where the lines between divine plan, free will, and accountability become hopelessly blurred and confused. In the chapters that follow, we will explore these paradoxes. we will step away from the abstract realm of faith and into the tangible world of science, history, and culture. We will discover the serpent as it exists in nature, not as a tempter, but as a vital architect of ecological balance. We will uncover ancient civilizations that did not see evil in its form, but wisdom, healing, and rebirth. This is a journey to reconcile two opposing views, the serpent of faith and the snake of nature. By understanding the animal, we might just begin to understand the story and ourselves a little better. So let's go. The origin of our story begins not in a garden, but on a scroll. It is found in the ancient texts of Genesis, the first book of the Hebrew Bible. The scene is described with a stark simplicity that belies its profound impact. A serpent approaches the first woman, Eve. It is described as more cunning than any other beast of the field which the Lord God had made. This creature speaks, and its words are a challenge to divine authority. It asks a simple question. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? This single sentence is the spark that ignites the entire drama, a moment of inquiry that will forever alter the course of human destiny. The serpent does not command or threaten. It merely questions and contradicts. It suggests that God's motives might not be as straightforward as they seem, and that knowledge itself is being withheld. It painted a picture of empowerment, becoming like God, knowing good and evil. This was the temptation, not just a piece of fruit, but the promise of enlightenment and a higher state of being. Interestingly, the original Hebrew text does not explicitly label the serpent as evil. The word used is arum, which translates to cunning, shrewd, prudent. It suggests a creature of high intelligence, not necessarily one of pure malice. The subsequent curse from God condemns the serpent to crawl on its belly and be at odds with humanity. But the initial description is more ambiguous. This leaves room for interpretation. Later theology and cultural biases rush to fill in the blanks with darker shades. They have been translated across languages and cultures, and with each retelling, the identity of the serpent has shifted. It has been transformed from a cunning beast of the field into the physical embodiment of the devil himself. The simple story of a talking snake in a garden became the epic battleground between good and evil, and the animal at its heart was cast as the ultimate villain, a role it never explicitly held in the original script. Well, that's where it all starts. The journey from a cunning creature to the face of pure evil was not instantaneous. It was a gradual transformation, shaped by centuries of theological debate, artistic interpretation, and the merging of different belief systems. Early Jewish traditions often viewed the Genesis story more allegorically. The serpent was a symbol of the Yetzer Hara, the innate human inclination towards evil or selfishness. It was seen as an internal struggle, part of the human condition, not an external demon. The serpent was less a literal devil and more a metaphor for temptations within the human heart, a personal, psychological foe. The arrival of Christianity marked a turning point in the serpent's fate. As the new faith defined itself, it systematized sin, salvation, and the devil. Satan needed a terrestrial form. The serpent from Eden fit perfectly. The book of Revelation, written centuries later, calls that ancient serpent the devil and Satan. That later text was retroactively applied to Genesis, recasting the talking snake as the prince of darkness. Art and literature in the Middle Ages and Renaissance amplified this fusion. Artists made abstract theology visible to largely illiterate audiences. They painted the serpent with demonic features, sometimes giving it wings of a fallen angel or the face of a treacherous human. It became a monstrous hybrid, a visual shorthand for evil. Dante's Inferno shows serpents tormenting sinners in hell. Milton's Paradise Lost has Satan choose the serpent's form for its subtlety. What began as a story about choice, obedience, and the acquisition of knowledge was reframed into a cosmic battle. The serpent became the antagonist of the whole human experience, This transformation externalized evil. It was easier to blame a demonic creature than to face the original story's truth. That disobedience is within us. The snake became a convenient scapegoat, bearing a burden that was ours to make. So that's the shift. Long before the serpent was cast as a villain in the Garden of Eden, it held a very different and far more revered status across the ancient Near East. The cultures that surrounded early Israel did not see the snake as a symbol of evil, but rather as a powerful emblem of life, healing, and wisdom. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Wadjet was a cobra who acted as a protector of the pharaohs and all of Lower Egypt. The uraeus, a rearing cobra, was worn on the pharaoh's crown as a symbol of divine authority and protection, a sacred guardian, not a tempter. This image of the serpent as a protector is a stark contrast to the deceiver in Genesis. In Mesopotamian civilizations, serpents were deeply connected to healing and immortality. The Sumerian god Ningish-Zeta was often depicted as a serpent with a human head, or as a staff with two snakes entwined around it. This symbol, the caduceus, is thousands of years old and is a clear precursor to the rod of Asclepius, the Greek symbol of medicine still used today. The ability of a snake to shed its skin was seen as a powerful metaphor for rebirth, renewal, and the cyclical nature of life and death. The symbol of a bronze serpent on a pole, mentioned in the biblical book of Numbers, is a fascinating example of this overlap. When the Israelites were dying from venomous snake bites, Moses was commanded by God to create a bronze serpent. All who looked upon it were healed. Here, within the Bible itself, the image of a serpent becomes an instrument of divine healing and salvation. So, how did this powerful symbol of healing, wisdom, and protection become the enemy? Some scholars suggest that as the monotheistic faith of Israel sought to distinguish itself, it began to demonize their sacred symbols. The serpent, so closely associated with rival goddesses and gods of healing and fertility, became a prime target. By turning a powerful pagan symbol into the face of their ultimate adversary, the serpent was not a god to be worshipped, but a deceiver to be shunned. The story of the fall may have been, in part, a deliberate rejection of the old ways. The transformation of the serpent from a symbol of wisdom to a symbol of sin is a testament to the immense power of storytelling. A narrative, repeated over generations, can shape the reality of a culture. It can define its fears, its values, its enemies. The story of Genesis, with its simple yet profound drama, provided a foundational myth for Western civilization. It offered an explanation for suffering, mortality, and the difficult labor of human existence. And at the heart of that explanation, it placed a single creature as the original source of the world's troubles, creating a villain that would endure for millennia. This narrative was carried across the globe by the expansion of Abrahamic religions. As Christianity spread, as Islam spread, they took the story of the Garden of Eden with them, overlaying it onto local beliefs and traditions. In many cultures that had their own complex relationships with snakes, some revered, some feared, this new story introduced a powerful and universally negative interpretation. The serpent of Genesis became a global icon of evil, a character so compelling that it often overshadowed or completely erased pre-existing mythologies. The story was so strong that it changed how people saw the real animals in their own backyards. The consequences of this narrative shift are not merely symbolic. They are tangible and have had a deadly impact on snake populations worldwide. The inherited fear from this single story has led to the persecution of countless snakes, most of which are harmless and vital to their ecosystems. When a person's first instinct upon seeing a snake is to recall a tale of primordial evil, their reaction is not one of caution or respect, but of aggression. It is easier to blame a slithering tempter than to grapple with the complexities of free will, divine plans, and the inherent struggles of existence. The story of the serpent provided a simple, compelling villain. It gave us a target for our fear and a name for the darkness we feel within ourselves. But in doing so, it may have blinded us to the true nature of the animal itself and to the deeper, more difficult truths about our own place in the world. To truly understand the serpent, we must leave the ancient garden of myth behind. We must step out from the shadows of cathedrals and into the light of the sun. Here, in the tangible world of forests, deserts, rivers, the creature we call a snake exists not as a symbol, but as a living, breathing animal. It is a marvel of biological engineering, perfectly adapted to its environment. Its elongated body, free of limbs, is not a curse, but a triumph of evolution. It allows the snake to navigate worlds inaccessible to others, slide through the tightest crevices, climb the highest branches, move with a silence that is the envy of any predator. For too long, our perception of this animal has been clouded by a single story. We have projected our fears onto its silent form, seeing malice in its unblinking gaze, deceit in its forked tongue. But in the natural world, these features have a different, more practical purpose. The unblinking eye is protected by a clear scale, a perfect adaptation for a life lived close to the dirt and debris of the forest floor. The forked tongue is not for speaking lies, but for tasting the air. A highly sophisticated sensory organ, painting a chemical map of the world. Let us watch one now, moving through the undergrowth. There is no evil in its movements, only efficiency and grace. It is not hunting for souls, but for sustenance. It is not a demon, but a vital participant in the great complex dance of life and death. Its existence is driven by the same fundamental needs that drive all living things. The need for food, the need for safety, the need for the continuation of its species. To see the snake as it truly is, we must quiet the ancient whispers of fear. We must observe it with the patient eyes of a naturalist, not the fearful eyes of a believer steeped in one particular myth. When we do, we begin to see not a monster, but a masterpiece. We see an animal that has mastered survival in nearly every habitat on Earth, from the driest deserts to the most vibrant rainforests. We see a creature that plays a crucial and often unappreciated role in maintaining the delicate balance of the ecosystems it calls home. It is time to meet the real serpent. All across the world, human civilization depends on a fragile balance, our ability to grow food. For millennia, we have tilled the soil, planted seeds, and prayed for a bountiful harvest. Yet alongside us, another drama unfolds. In the shadows of our fields and granaries, a silent army of rodents threatens to devour our hard work. Mice and rats can decimate crops and spoil stored grain, leading to famine and economic ruin. But they have an ally, a silent guardian that patrols the fields and barns. This guardian is the snake. Consider the bull snake of the North American plains or the rat snake of Asia. These powerful, non-venomous constrictors are masters of rodent control. A single snake can consume an entire family of rats in one sitting. Far more efficient than any trap and far safer than any poison. While we sleep, they are at work, moving silently through the tall grasses and along the rafters of our barns. Nature's own pest control service, free and perfectly sustainable. By keeping rodent populations in check, they protect our food supply and prevent the spread of diseases carried by these pests. Where snake populations are healthy, crop yields are higher, and the need for chemical pesticides is lower. By preying on mice and rats, snakes act as a crucial buffer, protecting communities from outbreaks like hantavirus and leptospirosis. Yet tragically, these beneficial creatures are often killed on sight. A farmer, unaware of the snake's role, may strike it down out of inherited fear. In doing so, they inadvertently harm their own livelihood. They kill the very creature that protects their crops. A profound irony, born from misunderstanding. If we could see beyond the ancient story, we'd recognize the snake not as an enemy in the garden, but as an essential partner in the field. a silent guardian of our daily bread and a protector of our health. The snake's role extends far beyond the boundaries of our farms. In the wild, they are keystone species, architects of the intricate food web that connects all living things. Every ecosystem is a complex pyramid of energy, with plants at the base and predators at the top. Snakes occupy a critical position in the middle of this structure. They are both predator and prey, a vital link that transfers energy up and down the food chain. Their presence or absence can have cascading effects, creating ripples that impact dozens of other species. As predators, snakes are specialists. Different species have evolved to hunt specific prey. Some feed on insects and slugs, others on frogs and lizards, and many, as we have seen, on rodents. By controlling the populations of these smaller animals, snakes prevent any single group from becoming too numerous and overwhelming the ecosystem. They are the regulators, the managers that ensure no one player in the ecosystem becomes too dominant, thus preserving biodiversity. At the same time, snakes are an important food source for other animals. Birds of prey like hawks and eagles, mammals such as coyotes and badgers, and even other snakes depend on them for survival. In this way, the snake serves as a crucial bridge, converting the energy from the small animals it eats into a meal for the larger predators above it in the food chain. The snake is a conduit, a living channel through which the power of the ecosystem flows. When snakes are removed from a habitat, the entire structure can begin to crumble. The animals they once hunted may multiply unchecked, while the predators that once hunted them may starve. This is the delicate, interconnected reality of nature. Every thread matters. The serpent of our myths is a solitary figure of chaos, but the snake of the natural world is a creature of connection and order. Its presence is not a curse, but a fundamental component of a healthy planet. Of all the features that inspire our fear of snakes, none is more potent than venom. The idea of a creature that can kill with a single bite is the stuff of nightmares. It is true that some snakes possess venom of incredible toxicity, a powerful chemical cocktail, evolved for subduing prey and for defense. However, our fear has often obscured a more profound and hopeful truth. The very substance we dread also holds the power to heal. Snake venom is not a simple poison. It is a highly complex mixture of proteins and enzymes. Scientists have discovered that these compounds, when isolated and studied, can be used to create life-saving medicines. For example, certain proteins in venom that prevent blood from clotting have been used to develop powerful drugs, used to treat heart attacks and to treat strokes. Other components that lower blood pressure have led to the creation of widely used hypertension medications. The serpent's bite, a symbol of death, contains the building blocks for drugs that save millions of human lives every year. The same tool that a snake uses to hunt can be repurposed in our laboratories to fight our most deadly diseases. Researchers are currently investigating snake venom for its potential to treat cancer, chronic pain, and neurological disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. The venom of each species is unique, a biological library containing thousands of undiscovered compounds. Every time a snake species goes extinct, we lose a potential source of new cures, a medical library burned before its books can even be read. This brings us back to the ancient symbols of healing. The rod of Asclepius has been the emblem of medicine for thousands of years. The ancient Greeks, who revered the snake for its connection to healing, understood something that we have perhaps forgotten. They saw that which can cause harm can also bring life. They recognized the dual nature of the serpent's power. It is not purely good or evil, but a force of nature that contains both destruction and renewal. The venomous snake is a living embodiment of this ancient wisdom. Let us engage in a thought experiment. Imagine a world from which all snakes have vanished, wiped out by fear, habitat loss, and persecution. At first, some might rejoice. The ancient enemy has finally been vanquished. But this celebration would be short-lived. The silence left by their absence would soon be filled by the sounds of an ecosystem collapsing. In our cities and fields, rodent populations would explode to biblical proportions. Armies of rats and mice would swarm through our granaries, consuming a significant portion of the world's food supply. Famine would become a real and present danger for millions. The diseases carried by these rodents would spread like wildfire, creating pandemics that our medical systems would struggle to contain. We would be forced to use ever-increasing amounts of chemical poisons, contaminating our soil, our water, and our bodies. In the wild places, the delicate food webs would unravel. Without snakes to control their numbers, certain species would multiply uncontrollably, stripping vegetation and altering the landscape. The predators that once relied on snakes for food, eagles, hawks, coyotes, would starve. Biodiversity would plummet. The vibrant, complex tapestry of life would become a frayed and tattered cloth. This vision of a world without snakes reveals a profound truth. We need them. We need them far more than we have ever understood. They are not our enemies. They are our allies, our silent partners in maintaining a healthy, functioning planet. By continuing to persecute them, we are not fighting evil. We are fighting ourselves. We are sawing off the branch on which we sit. The serpent of the myth may have led us out of a garden, but the snakes of the real world are essential to keeping our planet from becoming a wasteland. We really have to rethink how we see them. While one story cast the serpent as a villain, many other cultures saw it in a completely different light. Across the ancient world, from the sun-baked lands of Greece to the great civilizations of the Americas, the snake was not a symbol of corruption, but of healing and life. This forgotten history offers a powerful counter-narrative to the tale from the Garden of Eden. It suggests that our fear is not a universal human instinct, but a specific cultural inheritance. Perhaps the most enduring symbol of this connection is the rod of Asclepius. In ancient Greece, Asclepius was the god of medicine and healing. His emblem was a staff with a single serpent entwined around it. Temples dedicated to Asclepius were places of healing where non-venomous snakes were allowed to slither freely. It was believed their touch could bring restorative power. Today, it is the preeminent emblem of medicine and healthcare organizations all over the world. This association was not unique to the Greeks. We see echoes of it in the biblical story of Moses, in ancient Mesopotamia. The symbol of two snakes coiled around a staff, known as the caduceus, showcases the serpent as a figure of power and balance, a mediator between different worlds, not a bringer of chaos. These ancient peoples recognized a duality in the serpent that our modern singular story has lost. They understood that a creature possessing venom must also possess a profound knowledge of life's secrets. They saw them as two sides of the same coin. Have we, in our fear, only focused on the venom while ignoring the cure that lies within? One of the most captivating behaviors of a snake is the shedding of its skin. Slowly and deliberately, it crawls out of its old skin, leaving behind a perfect, translucent replica of its former self. It emerges, with a fresh, vibrant new layer. Its colors brighter, its eyes clear. It is a quiet, solitary act of profound transformation. Ancient cultures saw death, they saw rebirth, they saw renewal, they saw immortality. This is why the Ouroboros became a potent symbol. Egypt, Greece, India. It represents the eternal cycle of life, death, and reincarnation. The idea that the end is also the beginning. The serpent was not the end of life, it embodied endless continuity. This symbolism made the snake a powerful spiritual guide. It represented the journey of the soul. Just as the snake sheds to grow, the human spirit must cast off old beliefs, past wounds, limiting identities. The serpent became a teacher of personal growth and spiritual enlightenment. Contrast this with the serpent of Genesis. The difference is stark. The Eden story is one of finality. No shedding of skin, no renewal, only a permanent fall. The serpent of global mythology offers a more hopeful vision. Life is not a straight line but a circle. Even after darkness or constriction, renewal is possible. Transformation is fundamental to the natural and spiritual world. Beyond healing and rebirth, wisdom, knowledge, and cosmic energy. In the Hindu and Buddhist traditions of India, the Nagas are powerful, semi-divine serpent beings. They are not depicted as evil tempters, but as guardians of treasure, both material and spiritual. The Buddha himself is often shown being sheltered from the elements by the giant hood of the Naga king, Mukalinda. Here, the serpent is a protector of enlightenment. This connection to spiritual energy is also found in the concept of Kundalini, divine feminine energy, a coiled serpent that lies dormant at the base of the spine. The goal is to awaken this serpent energy, encouraging it to rise through the body's energy centers, the chakras. This awakening is said to lead to spiritual liberation, expanded consciousness, and a union with the divine. In the Americas, the feathered serpent god, known as Quetzalcoatl to the Aztecs and Kukulkan to the Maya, was one of the most important deities. This being, a fusion of the earthbound snake and the sky-dwelling bird, represented the union of heaven and earth. It was a creator god, a bringer of knowledge, agriculture, and the calendar. The feathered serpent was a symbol of civilization, learning, and the very structure of the cosmos. These diverse cultural views paint a rich and complex portrait of the serpent, one that stands in stark opposition to the singular narrative of evil. It makes one wonder if the cunning serpent in the Genesis story was not originally a symbol of malice, but a distorted memory of these older traditions. Perhaps it was a creature of knowledge, and the story is about the danger and responsibility that comes with seeking it. We began our journey in a mythical garden with a question born from an ancient story. We have traveled through pages of scripture, the natural world, the halls of science, and the temples of forgotten gods. Now, we return to that first question in a new light. The serpent is not one thing, but two. The real animal, a vital thread in the fabric of life, and the powerful symbol, a screen for humanity's fears and hopes. In nature, the snake is no villain. Science has shown us the snake as a component of order. To fear it is to misunderstand nature. To persecute it is to harm ourselves and unravel the delicate web that sustains us. In symbol, the serpent's identity is not fixed. The Western story casts it as the tempter, but for most of the world it has been a symbol of healing, a sign of rebirth, a guardian of wisdom. The serpent held up a mirror to the first humans. Perhaps the story still holds up that mirror. When we look at the serpent, what do we see? A monster from a myth? A scapegoat for our own flaws? Or a creature of God, a vital part of nature? A reflection of life's dual nature? Did we unfairly project our own darkness onto one of God's creations? The answer may say less about the serpent and more about ourselves. In part 2, we will descend deeper into the labyrinth to explore the origins of evil, the paradox of free will, and the unsettling questions that arise when faith and nature collide.